Hey, it's Paul. Welcome back to B&B Talk. Don't forget, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. All right, if you watched that episode, the one I just watched, you were treated to an acting tour de force between Oba and Anna Marie. Wow, they just upped it a whole other notch. With Ashlyn Pierce kicking in some great acting, and these guys, I think they've really set the bar high. It's a really interesting story, and I can't wait to see what the writers at Bold and Beautiful are going to do with this. The first thing we see is Nicole, and she refuses to go. She actually really stands her ground, and she tells her folks that LA is her home, and that they're more than welcome to be a part of it. But Julius calls LA an ugly, soulless city. Now you got to remember those words. And he says that he wants to get as far away from it as possible, and Maya as well. Julius says that he only has one daughter, and it's Nicole. And she asks him if it's pride getting in the way of him, doing the right thing. And he says, yeah. He says it's embarrassing in church and when the neighbors are gossiping. And she blasts him for not being approachable. She says, did you ever talk to the neighbors about Maya? Did you ever talk about some of the things that she's done that have made you proud? And he says that they all saw Myron grow up. So we obviously know that's where his embarrassment is rooted. The neighbors got to see even up to the point where Myron was able to drive a car and get a driver's license. So he's definitely hanging on to this. But her mother is the one that seems to be extending the olive branch. She says that that their house is incredible and Maya's done really well, but he says that he doesn't care about this. And Nicole tells them about how Maya has been a big success, how they live in the Forster mansion, and how she's really made a successful career and something to be proud of. But Julius says that they only flew out there to save the one child that he has left. Another thing, remember that he said that. Now Nicole says that she's happy. She doesn't want to be saved. She's digging her heels in and she's not going anywhere. And they actually know that she's an adult and she can make the decision, but they're trying to persuade her, and obviously not in the best way. But Julius scoffs at her and he calls Maya a freak, and talks about her showing up in a dress when she was young and not being able to deal with that. And he said it was a relief when she was arrested. Now, at one point, Nicole learns that her father, who she thought was going to be able to retire, is actually looking for work, and you get the sense that things aren't going really that well for them. But Julius puts a spin on it, and he actually tries to blame Maya for all the bad things that have happened to them. And once again, Vivian jumps in and says, it's not her fault that all these bad things have happened. And he sort of tries to tie it into the embarrassment, obviously trying to say that the strain of this caused them to lose jobs, but no one's buying this. And Nicole drills it into his head that Maya is and always was a woman, and now is living the role that she's meant to be. And she's very proud of her sister. She says that she found the woman who she is, and she's not ashamed to love her as a sister, and that she will continue to love her. And she says that their shame and embarrassment will cause them to lose 2 children. Then she gets up and walks away, and she sends a strong message to both of them. And then we see Rick, and he's touched by how benevolent Maya's being. She doesn't want to come between Nicole's relationship with her parents, but Maya does say that her parents had a chance to show her unconditional love, and they turned their backs on her. She wanted her mom's approval, when they just recently met, and she said her mom left. So she's not holding out any hope for this. And Rick says that maybe she should go to her parents. Maya then talks about the last time they met and how she wanted to see her sister, and she was basically blocked from going any further in the house and turned away, and that's her last memory. Now we go back to Julius, and we see the bill comes for them having 3 drinks, and Julius is looking at the bill. He can't believe the cost. This is a sign that he can barely pay the bill, and he tells his wife it's time to go home. But Vivian is starting to get a bit of a backbone, and she says no, they're not going home until they actually visit Maya. And then we see them actually, show up at the house, and this is a bit of a shock. They're looking around. The maid obviously has let them in and given them refreshments and told them to make themselves comfortable, and they start looking around this house and they can't believe it. Not only can they not believe it, but they look up and they see a picture of Maya front and center in that portrait that's hanging over the fireplace. They're really sort of blown away by this. And then we see Nicole, and she runs into Rick because she's looking for Maya. Now she brings him up to speed on how the meeting went. Obviously it was a disaster. She informs him that her dad is in town, and how ashamed and intolerant he is of Maya, and how he refuses to accept her. And after that we see Vivian, and she starts to really show what she thinks. She thinks that Maya looks lovely, obviously, in the portrait, and she's impressed with the life that she's created, and she wonders if there's a chance that they can start fresh, in Los Angeles, and that they should acknowledge who she is. So she's really reaching out to Julius, and then all of a sudden we see Maya enter, and she sees her mom at first, and then she sees Julius, and the first thing she says is, "Why did you come?" And then we get the shock of all shocks, because Julius walks up to Maya, embraces her, and he tells her that he had to come and see his little girl, and he gives her a big hug, and that's where things end. Now, I mean, you can throw your guesses out there, but I know what's going on. Julius saw these digs. He loves the fact that the mansion is there. He sees there's a lot of money around, and he, who doesn't have a job, sees it as a chance for him to set his hooks in. So I think he's burying his deep-seated hatred for what Maya's become in order to embrace her, and I think it's a facade. I don't think he means it, and I think there's trouble brewing for their family. But it's really interesting, because I'm so glad that these actors have joined the show, and I think it gives the writers a chance to come up with a really good storyline, and I'm very excited to see it. So I want you guys to keep checking us out. Don't forget, follow us on social media. It's Paul, and it's B&B Talk. Have a great day.